Great. Welcome, everybody. Just letting people in as they arrive, but happy to have everybody joining us for today's session for our next in our sponsorship coffee chats. And today we've got Jackie Clarke joining us from the Well Connected, talking about product placement and sponsorship for celebrity and specialty events. But before we get into it, I'll promo some of our next events coming up. We've got a session coming up next month where we're going to have Aaron Lafontaine from Spartan Race Canada and Stephen Fleck from the Canadian Endurance Sports Association talking about specialty sponsorship and how it focuses into the endurance space and some of the tips and tricks of being involved in that. And as well, we run weekly sessions on sponsorship deck essentials, as well as tips and tricks for using Canva to build your sponsorship deck. So you're welcome to join any of those, and they're available on our Eventbrite. I'm Brad McCabe. I'm the managing partner of Sponsor Circle. Happy to have you join. And I briefly introduced Jackie, but Jackie, I'll pass it off to you to explain what you do and where you fit in with Well Connected.
For sure. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jackie Clarke. I am the founder of the Well Connected, which is a creative support agency. So I'm a former publicist in film and television, did that for a number of years, and then kind of fell into PR and then fell into gifting. So I created my agency as a way to be a little bit more creative in the PR space, and then it lended more into the gifting and event activations. And 10 something plus years later, here I am. So that's a little quick and easy short about who I am.
And I guess it'd be great to hear a little bit about some of the events that you work on and support.
For sure. So most of the events that I support and work on are gifting suites, galas, award shows. So the Grammys, BET Awards, any of the bigger award shows, the Legacy Awards that happened this past Sunday. So clients will hire me to either strategize, do the sponsorship strategy for their event, and either bring in partners, financial partners or gifting partners or activation partners interweave them into their experiences. So I get to work with some really cool brands and really cool corporations and organizations to create a more immersive experience around products that just don't lend to here's our product, take it, look at it. We kind of figure out how do we interact with it and make it more of an easy user generated experience.
And getting right into it, how do you identify what are the ideal products that you want to have partnering with you for placement, and how you ensure that it resonates with the event's theme and audience?
Absolutely. So one thing with me is any client that works with me, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. So I like to look at what are the organizational goals of the company, and then what are the event goals? Because most of the time, an organization is putting on an event as a tactic to support one of the goals that they have set out for themselves. So I need to understand those things to see if there's an emotional tie-in or if there's a connection from a philanthropy standpoint between the client and some of the potential brands. And then from there, I look at the two tiers I call archetypes, the archetype of the type of event we're having, or the archetype of the audience members. Is this a beauty event? Is this a tech conference? If it is, what type of beauty influencers would be there? Is it influencers? Is it makeup artists? Is it cosmetic side? What's really happening? And then the last thing is I ask my clients to walk me through the entire experience. So we do this twice. So I ask them to walk me through what does rolling out the red carpet look like for this client. So from start to finish, attendee walks in all the way to the end. And then after we go through it once, we go through it the second time, because then I know, okay, when people come in, they're going to receive a welcome drink and a gift bag. So in my head, I'm charting the welcome drink could be sponsored. The gift bag could be sponsored. Or if it's it's a beauty event, we're doing headshots. I know I might want a beauty brand to be the makeup sponsor for touch-ups. But to identify that, I need to know what you're doing. I need to see the whole entire experience, because there's levels to bringing in a brand. And then from there, I can go through and map out through the experience from some of the brand partners I've spoken to in the past, here's what would be a good fit. Or from some of the research I've done, I know what kind of brands are kind of up to, and then I could kind of pitch them effectively. So that's just my process. But it helps me really get clear on what brands I'm bringing in, because not every brand is a good fit. And just to have Nike at your event, doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to make it make sense for the client as well as for the brand that's participating.
At what point do you get involved in that decision-making process and planning? Like, how early do you want to be working with your clients to plot that out?
For me, the sooner the better. So if you know that you're having an inaugural event, the sooner we can plan, the better. So right now, in particular, I have people talking to me. They're like, "Oh, I'm doing an event in March of next year or April of next year. Let's talk in January." I'm like, "No, let's talk now," because the conversation for sponsorship needs to happen at every turn. I'm at the Future Tech Conference. I'm already talking about my event that just ended August 4th. I've already sold it to 6 people already because I know what I'm looking for. So at the bare minimum, it's 3 months, but anything 6 months and above, once you have a sponsorship strategy, it can change, but the foundation is really important. Once we know kind of what we're doing or the basis of what we're doing, we then know the properties that we're selling. There's a stage that could be sold. There's a VIP room, a mommy room, a men's coffee room or cigar room, whatever it is. We know what we're selling, but the sooner we could have a conversation about the flow of the event, what the red carpet looks like for your attendees, what the experience you're looking to give, the sooner we can start figuring out the right brands and getting to them a lot faster. Because as most of us know, some get back to you right away, some a year and a day. Sometimes it's a trend of conversations before you get a decision. But the sooner we kind of have an idea of what the experience looks like every day when you're walking out on the street or you're at a conference, you're at a meeting, when you meet somebody, you automatically know exactly where they can be placed. And then the sell's a lot easier and the conversation moves a lot faster than trying to figure it out closer to.
When you're approaching a brand, how formulated are you coming in with the concept? Do you act it out and walk them through, this is what it will look like, or are you doing a discovery and a generic conversation about, we'll just have you attach the event and then build it afterward?
So it's a combination of both. But one of the things I do, if there's targeted brands that I know that I'm looking for, I do my own activation mapping. So I have an ask, give, and an activation chart. So what am I asking for? So I'll list out some of the brands I'm looking for in particular that I know I've wanted to work with, or I know that they would align. So say it be Nike. I'd have what I'm asking for, whatever the dollar amount and product that I'm looking for. What am I giving in return? And then what do potential activations look like? Because everything for me is not just product placement. It's how do we actually interweave a brand into the experience. But before I get into that selling, I have that on my back end. So when I am able to make a conversation and they're like, "Oh my God, tell me more," I can easily send the pitch. I already have the ideas mapped out and I'm not making them wait 3 or 4 days to get a response from me. But in the beginning, if it's new leads, new conversations, I'm like, here's a little bit about our event. Here's kind of the theme, what we're looking for. Here's kind of the experience we're looking to give. I really want to start and ask them, what are their marketing goals for this year? How do they interact with influencers? How do they participate at events? What's worked for them in the past? What hasn't worked for them in the past? Or what new products are they launching or services? And also, like, what do you need help with? And I'll use this as a prime example. February of this year, I volunteered at the Wedlock show, and I met one of the heads of the Barbados Tourism Board, and we just had a general conversation. And she was talking about they're looking to promote the Barbados rum and drink festival happening in October. So I was like, okay, cool. I said, I have this event, it's a Caribbean inspired event happening in August. I would like to talk to you more. When we hopped on a call, the conversation was really more about a little bit about me and more about them and what they were looking for. And they wanted to create an experience and bring more people from Toronto to Barbados. So then afterwards, I was able to figure out that we should create a rum and drink experience at our event. And so I was able to weave that in and sell that back to them. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't asked her what she was looking for. But on the back end, I also had other opportunities and other ideas that I thought of in the cuff, so that if the rum and drink festival wasn't possible or that experience wasn't possible, there was other ways that they can activate. So it is a bit of both. I say you have to do your homework. You have to have these things outlined, because when someone gives you the in, you want to get to them right away. But you also want to start with trying to see if you can do that discovery if you could get ahead of it and get them on the phone to talk. But if it's a cold call, you may want to share some of the activation ideas that you have so they know that it's not just cookie cutter, that you've actually thought of them and you've thought about some interactive ways.
And the three columns that you create for actually the process, do you walk your event clients through that and get them onboarded in advance? So you've been at least yellow lit, if not green lit, to say yes to some of these?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I do is it's a creative Google sheet. So we all have access to it and they will see the ask, give, and activation column. And it's just some of the things that we've thought of, right? So like one of my brands, I was like, I want to do this really cool treasure hunt, which we did at my carnival event that we had. And so I was able to be like, okay, so some of these luxury brands that I know are not going to give me 400 products, they would be able to give me one really high ticket product that we could use as a giveaway. But my clients all can see it. And it's also great for them because sometimes they have their own team that's also selling sponsorship, or they might want to be inspired by something that's like a like-minded brand. So everybody has access to it. And then we do a walkthrough of all 30 or however many brands that we put together. And we kind of go through that and they're like, this activation is a little bit off brand for us, or this is right on track, or oh, we never thought of that. And that also sparks other ideas. So when they're having these conversations out in the real world, they kind of have a plethora of ways that there can be integration.
No, it's fantastic, and it's a very simple approach that you've got, but love to see it in practice because it's making people think about things that they are still processing because they're focused on the logistics of event as opposed to the engagement piece.
But that's why it's really crucial before any event. I do a strategy call, and you have to walk me through the event because I had not a client. I was speaking at an event, and they were trying to sell tickets for like $300 a ticket, and it just didn't resonate. And they only sold 7, and it was like a week and a half before the event. And I'm like, well, what are people getting for $300? Like, what's you're giving a charcuterie board, and then what? And so when she walked me through the experience, we were able to move certain things, and then we were able to pivot with some of the brands and how they were placed. Be like, let's do a DIY tea bar. You start the day with a cold tea. You start the day with a hot tea before you get into the meditation, all these things, and we close off with making your own cold tea to kind of lock these things in. So once we were able to really communicate the experience and move around and shift the brand placements, the conference sold out because people could actually see the value. But having an ask, give, and activation chart sheet allows us to think of different cool ways that we can interact brands other than, hey guys, here's the product on the table, interact with it. It's like, no, let's do something really, really cool. And this also allows the brand to see that you're thinking about them more than just, we know we want your product for a cool swag bag or just so it looks good. We actually want to be interactive. And this also allows us to create what I call social media production. So a lot of us event planners, some of us don't like social media, or we're only caught up in the pre-set of that as posting before the event, but we're not actually capturing in real life content during the event. So my event, and I'll happily share the report in the chat for my carnival event. I had 13 social media managers on site, and we actually curate content, specific, tailored, and evergreen content to support our branding, our messaging, the experience, but also to support our sponsors. And those things are all pre-thought out, but it supports our messaging afterwards as well. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I guess that's the interesting point is making sure that the social push that you're putting out has to be planned out in some fashion, so you've got that engagement rather than trying to live in the moment and post things.
Absolutely, and it allows you to create because the biggest compliment a brand can give you is reposting your content as is, or because it's like they love it and it fits their feed. So my team and I, if we have like the last event, we had 46 brand partners. Some of them weren't all product, but we literally sat for 2 days and we mapped out, okay, guys, here's the evergreen content and here is the tailored content. And our brands walk away with a Dropbox folder of like a couple of reels, 2 to 3 reels, and like 10 or 15 videos and photos that they could use for their own marketing or social, but they walk away with that they can have as well. But then we're also able to use it, but it also supports our wrap reports because now I'm showing brands, and actually all the sponsorship I've got so far for 2024's event, I've only used my wrap report to sell. I haven't even created a new sponsorship yet, but I've used my wrap report to sell because the report speaks to how a brand can fit in. But all of these things have to be thought out from a product standpoint or an activation standpoint as well. Social media production for events is just as important as event planning itself.
And I know you've had some, great success stories and one that went pretty viral. I mean, want to share a couple of those and just the impact that it's had?
Absolutely. So I do work with a lot of different clients during TIFF, a couple of film houses, and I noticed in my volunteer state, we had a lot of talent that wanted something to snack on, something to grab on. And, the hotel foods aren't always that great. So one year I was just like, let's just create a candy room, like a sweet room in one of our little bunkers in the hotel. And we've done this for a couple of years. So we've had a lot of different talent come by, but I think it was 2019 with J Lo. She's promoting Hustlers, and she came through our holding area with talent, and we had chocolate from Nestle and all these things. And J Lo actually shot her own documentary for the film, like a little mini doc for the film. And she actually like candy would be nice right now, and she's touching like all the Nestle bars and all of these things. And what was really cool is we couldn't pay J Lo to do that. She also posted on her own YouTube channel, and so one of my team members was like, "Jackie, did you see J Lo posted?" So when I shared it with the clients and all the brands, that was really dynamic because they were like, wow, like this is cool. She's in front of our cart, she's touching the product. And it was just a really cool interaction. We've also done stuff with like, a couple experiences with Hugh Jackman, really like Lindt chocolate, kept passing the table and he never got the chance to get to it. And I put together a little bag for him. And so he ended up stopping by. He's like, can I have a chocolate? He's like, I love Lindt. I was like, sure. And we're like, here's a bag of it. And he took the bag and then he was able to like post online, I got a bag of Lindt chocolate. Again, something that cost Lindt an arm and a leg to do, but he was able to post because the experience was there for him. And then lastly, with Carnival Oasis, you guys can see the report. This particular event is a carnival inspired gifting suite, but it allowed our brands to interact in a more fun way. And this particular experience was done for a lot of the American talent that come into Toronto in the city for Toronto Caribbean Carnival weekend, but they're not privy to what it really is. So we wanted to create an experience that is something that they're used to, but then we also wanted to incorporate Canadian influencers, brands, and talents that don't normally get that notoriety with the American talent. So this is an event for American and also Canadian influencers, celebrities, whatnot. But this is a full gifting experience. You walk into our house and you just get an empty bag and you get to walk around and pick up product. You can take as much as or as little as you like, and then you walk outside to the immersive experience of DIY, actual tattoos, lip injections, massages, custom cocktails, and then just hang out and chill out like you're in an oasis. So those are some of the cool events that I've done.
Yeah, and I guess one of the big challenges, because you're being incredibly creative and you get these brands who want to make investment and everybody's looking for their J Lo moment, and for you to recreate that. How do you tread that line between having a fantastic brand experience without it being overbearing on the event or the attendees?
Yes. So what we really focus on, it goes back to the rolling out the red carpet for my talent. So what does the experience look like? Like we want to make sure it's an immersive, easy to walk through, easy to come on in without it being super overbearing. So every event requires different things. So like a gifting suite requires gifting. It requires an abundance of products because people are picking it up. It requires things that are try on, but not all the products that you have to pick up. Some of it is more, like I said, trying it out. But also, again, making sure that you use your space well. So, like we said, inside is where we kept the I guess you could say the product tables to pick up, and then outside was more relaxed. So inside was a little bit more of the hustle and bustle, like a shopping store, but outside allowed you to relax. So you have you start high and then you kind of come down low. So what does that flow look like? That also allowed for those people who are a bit more introverts or socially awkward or struggle with anxiety with people to be able to separate themselves because of just the overload of like free product and just the excitement and high of everybody. So it's really taking into consideration the flow of your event, which is extremely important as well, and not cramming too much programming. We didn't have any programming other than we had a DJ and product, and then a couple massages stuff. We didn't have speakers. We didn't stop and address the crowd. We didn't have any performances. Again, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, they're just moving this 1 second, guys. So again, it's all in your programming. You don't want to do too many things. You don't want to stop the audience 30, 40 times for something. You don't want to have too many breakout rooms. We had 2 spaces, one indoor, one outdoor, and it allowed for the flow. So just be mindful of the amount of programming, the attention that you're taking from your audience. You want to be mindful of that.
I guess, lifting off of the events themselves and thinking about, how much you're engaging social media as a conduit for the brands and celebrating the, participation they're having with the events. How does that look when, people are, growing their digital marketing spend and investing with influencers? Are you seeing the types of activities that you're doing? Is that changing? Are the budgets growing, shrinking? I'm not sure where that trend is going.
With digital marketing, everything right now is your social impact. Everything is that social. My internet's unstable. Hopefully it's working. Everything is really your social impact. So everything has to be an Instagrammable moment, right? So, I would say to that, be cognizant, like all my guests, they come into our space, we have signups that says, this will be filmed, cameras will be out. If you don't want to be on camera or all these things, you could sign a waiver for us to not use your likeliness and whatnot. But I would say just digital marketing in terms of events and product placement, we're seeing it a lot more with the AI space in terms of like augmented virtual reality. We're seeing it where you could do more immersive experiences now and try like, there's something I saw online. There's like shoes that they want to do this where you could walk by in a storefront now and you could see like the shoe on your foot and then you could change the color and then you could purchase like this. They're doing all these really cool things. But in hindsight, the digital component, capturing those photos, being able to share it is really where we're at. And I think everybody just needs to be on board and understand that we are always selling, especially because of social media. Everything is some type of sale, if that makes any sense.
Oh, that's great. And then, how much negotiation do you need to do between the brands, your events, the celebrity talent that might be coming through for a celebrity event or VIP? Are there rules you have to go through? Are there a lot of headaches you have to deal with?
It depends on the talent. So most of my talent, whenever I send an invitation or I'm inviting you to something, again, I'm very clear with our agenda. Hey guys, it's a gifting opportunity. We will be taking photos. One of the things I found is easier instead of just handing somebody a gift bag and being like, here you go. When you have people being able to pick up and try products and grab them, it's easier to capture that photo. I could be like, hey Jordan, do you mind? Like, let me, like my team could be like, hey, can you smile and take a photo? You're already in the mix. You don't know what's happening, right? But my talent are very much aware that, hey guys, photos and stuff will be taken. They will be used. We do send them back to the brand. So if that's something you don't want to attend or don't want to be a part of, they will let me know. Certain celebrities and talent, like just for the Legacy Awards that just passed, one of our Canadian, R&B legend, they were undressed. They were out of all of their gear. So they're like, I'll take the product, but you cannot take any photos of me because I'm not dressed up. I'm dressed down and I don't want that on social media. So those are things that we have to be cognizant for. With my brands, I don't ever guarantee too many talent photos because again, I can't completely take power over someone's likeliness. Like I could ask you, hey Jeff, can I take a photo? If he says no, I have to, of him, he could say no, right? But most of the time we work ahead to make sure that we capture stills of our products ahead of time. We do our own social media content. And then there are most of the time some of the influencer talent, I've spoken to their team or their brand saying, hey, I'm gonna need a few photos with you. And they're like, okay, Jackie, no problem. But they know it's not being used in a way that it's going to look like they've completely endorsed the product. We don't ask them to say, hey, I love Pepsi and this is this and this and this and this. We just ask them for a picture. And our brands are very aware that they can't use the photos and likeness to make it seem like this person's endorsing it. And if that's the case, then they're going to have to cut a check for that. But most of the time, we try to keep all the products together for our product tables. So that is kind of like an accumulation of everybody. So it's a fair game, if that makes sense.
Do you have any logistics you have to run through when you're posting for somebody who is a celebrity in terms of clearance, or if they're in the room, it's an accepted
Yes.
that they're going to have photos?
It depends on the talent. Like right now, it's funny. This morning, the team and I were in a debate, a conversation about one of the performers from the Legacy Awards. She doesn't want her photos. Everything has to be approved. So we're just removing her from all of our posting for now because we can't hold up the process of promoting what post event because of her. She's a cool person. She's pretty well known, I would say. But once she approves the photos, then we can repost her afterwards. But most of the time, like I said, all the talent that I work with, I don't really get that much pushback or feedback. They understand. It's just different if I'm using it, and making money, like a lot of money off of them, or I'm using their likeliness consistently, then it would be a problem. But most of the time, they know we're going to tag them in about a few photos. We normally give them, some companies will ask for a cap of photos. We're like, listen, only tag us in like 10. After that, no more. Or some talent, but most of the time they don't. They're pretty cool as long as you don't like disrespect or you're putting anything crazy underneath the comments that insinuate that an affiliate or they're that brand rep. Then they're pretty okay with what's happening. And again, we have signage and we normally talk to their team in advance. But a few talent you will get, they want to approved, or they're just going to tell you no. They'll tell you don't use any of our photos, and that's it. You have to honor that.
And ROI is consistently a growing area of focus. The brands are making an investment. They need to make sure that there's a return on where they're putting their dollars. And I've seen what you've done and the post wrap reports, and it really seems like you put as much or more focus on your wrap reports and the capturing at the event itself than you do in advance. So just would love to have you walk us through that process and what you're doing in event.
Yeah, for sure. So I believe not every event, depending on the company, can garner a return on investment for a brand. Most of us can't. Like if you give me $100,000, most of us can't garner $100,000 in sales for you. Some of us can, some of us can't. But I really focus on the return on engagement. Everything, like I said, right now is really about social proof and social presence. So if I can curate and showcase the likeliness of your brand, showcase the experience of your brand through what I'm doing, then that's what I'm going to focus on, because that's something that's 100% within my control. I can't control sales. I can't force everybody on this call to buy after you spent $300 on a ticket or whatever the case. I can't force you guys to buy the product for another $200-$300 or whatever the case may be, but I can control in the messaging in which I share. So setting up, again, going back to curating a proper shot list, looking at, okay, here's this brand. Here's the experience that we're doing. What do we need? So we know liquor brands want to show the bottle, but they really want to show people enjoying the drink. In the liquor community, they have this saying, every drop counts, right? So how do we capture that every drop? It's people cheersing. It's the bartenders mixing drinks. It's people taking shots. It's bottle girls holding the bottle. It's people interacting with it, facial expressions. If it's trying food, we capture all of that, because again, that speaks to the liveliness of the brand. If it's that type of sensory, which is taste, you're going to want to show more people tasting and enjoying, and your guests enjoying it, because the audience, on the other hand, receiving it, are going to be like, oh, this looked like it would taste good, or oh, there's so many photos of people loving the ice cream, loving this. Maybe I will try it. We're playing on people's emotions, right? So capturing that essence also allows us to really see how well that product worked at our event, and if this is something we need to have back. And one of the things I do is, as much as I'm an event planner, I hire a day of coordinator that will come on in to allow me to actually walk my event and actually interact with guests. Because a lot of people don't know who I am. They don't know that I put this on with my partner. So I'm like, oh, like, how did you hear about this? Who do you know? And so I get in real time feedback, things that I might be able to fix right away. That I wasn't privy to, because when you're doing an event and you're running around, you're not always seeing all the problems. It allows me to check in with my vendors, check in with my sponsors or the brands that have participated, and find out what the experience is like for them, again, to troubleshoot or fix anything. But it allows me to be in that moment. And then I could capture certain things. So my phone is always out. I'm like, oh, let me get that photo. My team and I are on headsets. We're like, hey guys, there's a group of people that just walked in. Everyone's, looking for playing ping pong. Let's gather that. And then we could take all this and showcase it in our wrap report, but also showcasing it on social also creates FOMO, also allows for other people to see what we're doing, to excite them to either come back next year or reach out to potentially be invited for this year. So it just really puts it puts the experience in your event out there, and focusing on curating those those narratives for social and just even for marketing. Like, you're going to do deck. Why do you not have great photos that speak to the activation? Not, yeah, we had a cool ice cream bar, but you have no real photos of it, no real videos of it. So it helps us sell the experience to other ice cream companies or other food beverage companies that can participate.
And I know you capture video almost equivalent to what you're doing in terms of still photos, and you're utilizing that in your post and in your social. And I know a lot of events, you know, they've got a photographer, but they haven't thought about the video piece and how crucial
Yes.
is video.
Yeah, think of it like the fashion commercials, right? It's video. People, photos are great, but if you can capture so much in 30 seconds, so many different shots, so many different clips, and again, it's about the immersive experience. It's about showing brands, especially if you're attracting sponsors. You're giving them that this is what it looked like in real time. Like, yes, there's photos, but we're actually seeing it. People can kind of place themselves there. Video is just as important as photo. Again, it's your marketing. It's what you say you are. It's what you said your event was going to be all about. You could use it for many commercials for promoting the next event. You could show an aerial view of all the guests lined up outside around the block. You can show the products. You can show how the products move. In a photo, you can see how it was in a still, but you can see people cheering. You could actually kind of feel the emotions, and you could hear sounds. You can hear people talking. It's just a different level of sensory that I think a lot of people miss. They capture really great photos, but think about Instagram. Instagram in particular is 90% video. Why are you not using the majority of it for reels?
And beyond the content piece, when it comes to, you know, your imagery, what other metrics do you find are important that you need to deliver back to your brand?
For sure, they want to know if you're any data points. So I would say if you've done any promotion, they want to know how many clicks were there, how many people obviously attended the event, what types of people. So capturing, I do a face chart, and this is a former publicist in me, so I highlight key people, well, everybody who attends. If depending on the size of the event, I will do a face chart for everybody. Some events are very exclusive, but obviously a 600-700 person event, I can't have a face chart for everybody, but we definitely know, some of the notable people that are going to be there. So we gotta definitely check out what they're doing as well. So bring people back and check their socials. Not everyone tags you correctly. Not everybody uses the right hashtag. People just post. So my team and I go back and we actually look at okay, DJ started from scratch, attended, we know he was there, let's go on his Instagram. Like, example, my team and myself, we all missed Scratch's post of the Well Connected, and from the experience I didn't even see it because there were so many tags, but if we didn't know he was there, we wouldn't have been able to go back and capture that. But outside of just like really figuring out the kind of key prominent people who are there, any email communications that have gone out, any clicks that have gone out, or those back ends are really important as well. And then user generated content is really important, because we could all curate as much photos as we want as the brand and show you this is what it looked like, but I can't make that up from my users. So making sure everything is saved to a highlight on Instagram and downloaded afterwards. And I'm actually showcasing what people said, the DMs I've received. Jackie, this event was amazing. I'm so proud of you, or all these things. Those are things that I can't make up because it's somebody else's experience. And that is user generated content. And in real life content is what I'm seeing more brands are asking me for. Well, what did this influencer say about it? What did they post about it? Or did they enjoy this? So making sure we're stalking them and essentially our attendees and pulling that information and showing that in the report is also more beneficial. I won't say more, but it's very crucial and just as important as showing how many impressions and reach we had, because these brands want to know, oh, DJ started from scratch, really love this, let's reach out, because we know he's going to be receptive to hearing from us because he liked the product, or he's now aware of the product, so he's more likely to respond.
Fantastic. And I've got a bunch of questions that were posed in advance from people. And if anybody's got a question they want to jump in, feel free to put it into the chat, and we can go from there. But I know a couple of the questions we got in advance really relate around, the struggle of, brands wanting to give you product as the benefit. So how do you create that balance to get brands to pay for the sponsorship placement rather than just being considered, well, we're giving you the the product in kind?
It's still a definitely tricky slope. I remember in my early days of sponsorship when I had no idea what I was doing, brands would give us money, but they would never give us product. And we're like, no, we want the product. And now, even last night, I was having I saw one of my past brand partners at a networking event, and they're like, we'll give you as much product as you need, but we don't have the budget. And so it's just like, it's a case by case, depending on what the product is. I might take it over the money because I'm like, okay, I know this is going to be a little bit more impactful for my sponsors, for my attendees. But what it really is for me, I'm not selling the table, like the gifting table. I'm not selling you. You could take the 8.5 by 11 table. I don't care where you put it. I'm not selling the real estate of where you are. I'm selling the content. So for me, I find a lot of brands want content. So if I can prove to you, I'm going to give you, this is the quality of reels. You're going to get 7 reels that are tailored to you. We're going to have somebody that's working on your tip, and we're curating content. Because I've used my event as an influencer, because they're technically paying an influencer, right? They're technically paying an influencer to create content of this Pepsi that I'm drinking, right? So why not have us curate that in a more widespread and capturing a lot more influencers? So I'm now selling them on the idea of content creation within our space. And so they're paying for that. And so they're like, oh, okay, what does this look like? And they're like, we have some guidelines, but I'm like, well, this is our guidelines for this particular event. And so they're buying into that. That's why my RAP report's so extensive. That's why their drive is extensive, but it's case by case. I always try to push for monetary, because also some of the influencers or celebrities are getting, guys, you're not getting them for $1,000. You're not getting them for $2,000. Like, I just reached out to a famous R&B singer last night, and I'm just like, how much to have you for a client? $40,000. So you know what I mean? So if a brand's paying 2K or 3K, if it's at the lowest margin, I'm telling you guys, to have this guy here is about 40K. I can get you content with this person, and you're not paying that 40K. You kind of have to leverage the power of who you have coming or what you're doing, but it is still a tricky slope. Sometimes I get money, sometimes I don't, but it depends on what the relationship with the brand that I want to build. If I know I'm doing this event again, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna show you what I can do. I believe in this plus tax mentality. If you're giving me $30,000 worth of product, I'm gonna give you about $45,000 worth of ROE, return on engagement. Also, I'll double back and say, what I find is sometimes these brands, smaller corporations or smaller businesses, see this $50,000 price point and they can't afford it, but they want to participate. One of the things I've implemented is build your own experience. So, hey, listen, we know that you may not be able to hit our $50,000 mark, but we know that you want to participate. What budget do you have? What is the lowest amount of money that can be approved in the shortest timeline? That's one of the biggest questions everybody should be asking. And then what is it that you would like to do? And then we could start that negotiation, because I'd rather get something from you, even if it's like 5,000 versus nothing, right? Or sometimes it's just the product, and then I will take it, but I'm going to go above, but not too far beyond, because I want you to see that, hey, there's value here. And next year you're going to have to pay for this because I'm proving to you that this is valuable for you. So it's a little up and down.
That's one of the sort of repositionings, just thinking about sponsorship, that, with the growth of the influencer market and looking at events, festivals, teams, all of the existing traditional sponsorship opportunities are the original influencers, but they're not operating in the same manner that influencers do. So, I think there's a lot of repositioning that needs to be done in the industry, so that the brands see it as an equivalent, because they're paying an influencer. They should be paying the event for the same engagement. How do you price out the opportunities?
It really depends. It really depends on what the overall experience is. So I really look at my budgets really deeply. I really look at how much is it going to cost me for this space. And then I look at what is this experience doing in itself that's going to garner this much. So, like, for instance, if we had a little massage parlor at the event, so people were able to come on and then get massages. And I'm like, okay, you're going to have people here for 10 minutes getting massages or so, and it's immersive, it's quiet, there's a lot of dedicated content that you can give, and we know we're going to at least have more than 10 people in your space. So you know what, we're charging about $10,000 just for a full branded tent. And I also go about, what is my budget for this event? Like, I just know I need to cover my budget and make a little bit more. But some of the experience, especially with celebrities and talents, obviously it's exclusive, and so my prices range Sometimes it's like, sometimes putting product in a gift bag is just $1,000 activation. Sometimes I don't even charge for the product placement in the bag. It really depends on the feel of what I'm looking to do. Sometimes I get a good sponsor that comes in and we actually get 90% of what we're covered. So I'm like, okay, then you know what? I don't need to go over and above in the ask, because I also, certain brands I want to build a relationship with, but depending on what that experience looks like and depending on how much content I want to build out for that experience will determine the cost. So if I know I want to have a lot of really cool video of people in the cove, I want to make it really immersive, but I have to bring in lights, I have to bring in stage, and I have to bring in this, the cost of that is going to determine the cost of that activation for the brand participating, because I know I have to build it all in to make it look the way that I want it to look. It's really like a TV production when I do things. It's kind of crazy. But some of my activations cost like $7,500, especially for brand exclusivity, over 10K for brand exclusivity. When I'm working with 3 or 4 different rum brands and they're like, I just want our rum all over the place, and umbrellas on the property, fanning on the property, you're paying now for property use. And that footprint and watermark, I have to charge a high value, because the amount of content, the visibility of your brand, and how many people are going to front entrance and people are going to capture that. Yeah, you have to pay about $10,000 to $15,000 just for that, because the footprint is magnificent versus somebody who's hidden in a corner who may not get seen. The footprint's not going to be that big, so then the pricing is not going to be that large. But it depends.
And you touched on the start of Justin's question. What's your process for reaching out to new sponsors? And are you going agency side, or are you going brand side? How do you build those relationships?
For sure, I'm going every side I can. So I don't believe you just got to go knock on one door. So one of the things for me is LinkedIn has become my best friend. I really look at who is on the marketing team. I look at anybody in the marketing team, see if there's anybody that has a specific sponsorship department or team. Then I go into PR and sales would be last, find out how many people are there. And then I reach out, and I also will reach out from the agency side, because I find from a publicist standpoint, when I've had a couple emails come on in from different brands speaking about the same person, it kind of gives me that, okay, I've had 3 or 4 emails from different brands about this brand or this person. Let me look into this a little bit deeper. Also, it gets passed around a lot faster as well. So I've gotten emails. Hey, Jackie, like, I got your emails. 3 of our team members received an email from somebody from your team. Thank you. I am your main person. You will now deal with me, and I make this and this and this decision. And I'm like, perfect. I now know I've hit the right person. And I now know it was transferred over. But then my process for finding new brands, I'm always on the lookout for different brands. And a lot of the time, even before my own events or client events, I'm spending time talking to these brands, just asking them what they do, or if it's agencies, what brands are in their portfolios, what are they kind of KPIs or ROIs or event stats that they're looking to make this year in 2024. And I chart that. Like, I'm a nerd, so I will chart those type of things, because I'm not always selling them. I just want to know where you're at, because I also want to be able to pitch you effectively. Right? Just sending you a random pitch does work, and it works for me a lot of the time too. But if I have the chance to get ahead of it, I'm just going to build a relationship with you, and I might not even have a need for your particular product. But I find when I've reached out and just tried to develop a relationship, I have brands that are like, hey, Jackie, like, what's new with you this year? Like, do you have any cool clients? I'm like, I do. And they're like, well, listen, we actually have a budget of stuff. We're just looking to get in. Can you share some? And it's turned out, I'm like, yeah, actually, I know somebody that's doing something and they need this. Oh yeah, we'd love to be a part of it. But then they look to me as that kind of go-to person to connect. And so then they always let me know, hey, we just launched a new product. Can we send you something? Or do you think we could do a giveaway? Or do you know an influencer we could work with? Because they know that I'm in the business of helping them out. So it supports me. And then when I have my event, I'm able to circle back. But one of the things I did want to say for anybody on this call, if you have an event that you're doing for yourself, or if you have events that you're doing, if you have more than one event, I would highly suggest creating a projections deck of the projected events that you're going to do over the next year, or even up to the next quarter, and sending that out. And yes, I know it's selling a lot of your events at one time, but I know someone who's been on both sides. I despise receiving like 30 different emails from you about an event every other month. Like, just let me know what you're doing all up at once. Let me see it. Let me know the ones that you think I'm really interested in, or that you think would be best suited for that brand. And then let's have a discussion. And I found creating those projection decks has allowed me to really showcase the the capabilities of my clients, but as well as speak to the capabilities of my agency and allow me to have foster more deeper relationships with some of my the brands that I'm pitching, because now I get a more, they're like, Jackie, we're more into these type of brands. I'm like, okay, so I know you're into more of the tech stuff. This is where you're going, so that I could target it. So I know my tech clients will be more received versus than my beauty clients or a cultural event, right? And that's kind of my process for reaching out to new brands, is kind of showcasing what I have coming up, what I've done in the past, or just really at the bare minimum, I just want to know more about you and your portfolio and how I can support you moving forward.
Yeah, and it comes back to discovery. The more
Yes.
you have a conversation where it's not an ask, where
Yes.
you can learn, I think I'm a huge advocate of that as well.
Absolutely.
And you and I were talking leading into the call. Just we've all been to conferences where you get a gift bag as a delegate bag, and it is full of stuff. And I won't say full of crap, but it's just full of stuff. And
Yeah.
you go back to your room and you dump it on your bed, and you start sifting through, what you think's of value and what needs to be recycled right away. I guess one is can there be too much in terms of placement? And when you're working on brand engagement, how do you develop things that are going to stand out in a scenario like that?
So I'll say this. I mean, there's never too much free stuff. It's free stuff. There could be too much of nonsense things. And so I also will preference with this. I do not believe every event deserves a gift bag or needs a gift bag. And I say that with my chest. Every one of my clients and sponsors know this as well, because I really look at what is the intention for the gift bag and what purpose does it serve for my attendee? Does it support, is there tools in there that will support them? I also believe, I don't like gift bags that are full of paper. I'm a strong believer in the paper needs to be valuable. Don't give me a gift card for $5 unless it, the gift card or the discount needs to be able to cover something at full price, in my opinion. Like I gave away gift cards last weekend, but they were $1,000 gift cards to Novus. You could buy 2 jackets or 1 full jacket at that price. But I will say there's also 2 different types of people when it comes to gift bags. They're the people that just want a bag for they want a bag and they want to just grab all the stuff that they can, and they're going to just take it to look at it. And there's people like myself, I will open up the gift bag and go through everything because I'm a brand nerd. I want to know what brand is here, who they are, what company this is, and I chart them. I have a whole database of people and I filter the likeness, but that's just there's that type of person, and there's the person that just wants product. Now, I'm a strong believer in the products in your bag need to act as tools and aids, and they need to support your attendee experience at your event. So a beauty conference, obviously, you're going to give it a lot of beauty products, and they should be full size, because a sample bottle of shampoo is not going to allow me to see the full effects of the products and ingredients in there. I need to try the full experience because people buy into emotions. But in hindsight, could your gift bag be an e-gift bag? That's even more better. Hey guys, like buy stuff online, get discounts off of this that are of value, where now you save bags and it's just digitally done. Could it be, I know everybody's like, oh, I got a gift bag with a pen and a notebook and a paper, but could your notebook be tailored where it's a tailored branded notebook that supports the conference? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I go to too many conferences where I'm like, what's that guy, Brad? What was his last name? What's his Instagram? I don't remember. Can you design a book that allows you to have Brad's information in there, his Instagram and all that, and a page that speaks just to him? And then maybe Brad has given you a sheet or a workbook from his company that supports, like, I designed this for one of my clients on Canva. I'm not a graphic designer, but we opted out of gift bags and we did exactly this, digital and in person, and it worked out a lot better. We had worksheets in here, daily visions, and I tell you, it had the program, it had the schedule, your typical conference book, but this worked out better than the VIP gift bags we gave. People wanted more of these books to take home because they found it impactful. So it really comes down to, yes, you can have too many products in the bag, but I think and sometimes it's a good thing, but I think it's what tools do the product serve, right? Are these tools are things that I'm going to be able to go home and use that are going to impact the quality of my life? If it's a tech conference, are you giving me tech gadgets that I can try that improve the battery life of my computer? Are you giving me stuff that help me, keep my phone on throughout the conference? Give me things that are going to solve some type of problem or support my attendee while they're with me. A business card, I would rather you guys send a really cool email newsletter with some cool fun facts about this brand. That's not just here's my business card. Like, let the person give a little worksheet or something in a digital component that somebody could actually wrap around. Like the free has to be transformative. If your free is not transformative, why are we giving it? In my opinion, which are not facts, by the way.
No, but it's definitely important because you want the engagement, and if you give something that's flat, then somebody's just gonna take it and put it with the other 25 carrier bags that they've got sitting in their trunk right now. So you spend a lot of money on the branded bag, but nobody's really kind of using it. It's just collecting dust.
Exactly, and it's what is the experience. Even if like say you're in mortgages and you're sponsoring this event, can you offer sticky notes with mortgage tips on it people use sticky notes all the time. Like, how do you also as a brand find something really cool that you can give somebody that has your watermark on it? Like, I think I have it here. I have this thing. Yes, I got this at an event in Miami. It is a fan. That Ally is a financial bank, and I do not work and support out. Not that I don't support, I'm not paid, but they gave me this fan in Miami that plugs into my phone. It has 2 ports, and it's hot as sitting in church in Miami. So I was hot, so I use this now. But it's a branding, and I was like, "What is Ally?" Because I use it all the time. I was home, I looked it up. I'm like, "Oh, this is a cool financial institution," but it forced me to do something. So even as a brand, even when you're working with companies and they're like, "Oh, we have branded merch," try to get them to give you something that would be useful for your clients. Like I told some of my brands, I'm like, give me fans with your logo on it, because everybody Caravana weekend is on the road. It's hot. They're going to need this. Barbados gave away a ton of these, and it made sense. So instead of giving us a business card that people aren't going to use, give me the fan, and now they're going to look it up. So even encourage your brand partners to give you customized merch that supports your attendee experience.
And I think, in addition to usefulness in terms of what people are handing out, we had a question in advance about appropriateness. I've had brands give me things for gift bags before, and I've had to send them back because they've given me something like, there's no way we're ever going to give this out to the attendees, just because it wasn't fitting with the event. The poo emoji was really exciting. Everybody liked it as kids, but I'm not handing that out to CEOs.
Yes. And again, the appropriateness of the product also makes sense. Like for my event, Carnival Oasis, we're into fun stuff. We're into shocking people. So we gave away cannabis as well as, we gave them the choice, and as well as adult toys. Because you know what? The adult toy company was like, hey, we wanted to, people obviously, they got like little cute, like little buttons and pins, but they got a chance to go home in private and take up stuff. But people were like, this was really cool. We do that in this event because we're here to shock people. But again, to that extent, I know the adult toy company was like, oh, I want to be a part of this award show. I knew the appropriateness at an award show was like esteemed guest. You can't really give somebody an adult toy. It just doesn't make sense. So you do have to kind of see that. And I asked my brands to tell me, like, before we approve, well, what is it that you're thinking of gifting? What is it? Let me see what this is, because I'm like, that won't work. Like, I know for sure a company was like, we want to give you tanning lotions, but they're like, our audience was majority Black. And I'm just like, yeah, Black people, we tan. And we do use tanning lotions. It's a big industry now. And they're like, oh, really? We're like, yeah, so it is appropriate, but they didn't think it was. So sometimes you do have to ask. But yeah, a poo emoji and a squish ball, cute. What is it? Like, does it make sense? Or unless that brand is known for quirkiness, then it aligns with that brand's vision and people understand that. But you do have to do some type of management of that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's having the conversation with the brand, because they've got to order it, and it's got to be ordered well in advance. But I find sometimes brands will give you stuff to put in a bag, and you don't know it till it shows up on site. So trying to have that conversation up front.
And you could steer them. Like if your brand is very specific, your event is very specific to something, I always ask brands, what kind of marketing merch do you guys have? And some people will tell me, oh, we have these cool power banks. We have, like, one company, they had a papers for people who roll weed. And I was just like, I was working with a client whose focus was on cannabis. I said, yeah, that will work. Oh, we want to give you water bottles. Nah, the papers will work better. So sometimes asking what kind of marketing merch, or again, seeing if they're willing to customize something and work with you on a really cool gifting. And then to double back with gift bags, sometimes you can give somebody one really cool gift instead of giving a gift bag full of nonsense. You can give them one really cool, like a really dynamic power bank or speakers, like Bluetooth branded speakers. You can give people some really cool stuff at times that are more impactful than a gift bag full of cookies and cupcakes and business cards. So sometimes really think about what is it that you're giving people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. It's been great. Really appreciate your time today. And for everybody on the call, I'll share Jackie's contact information. I saw she shared it in the chat as well in the follow-up. We've got a session next month, as I was saying, leading in on sponsorship in the endurance sports space with Aaron LaFontaine from Spartan Canada, and Steve Fleck from the Canadian Endurance Sport Association. So happy to have you join that next month. And then, reach out to Jackie or myself if you've got questions and want to follow up. Happy to engage with you, and I really appreciate your time today for joining us. And again, thank you, Jackie, for being part of this.
Thank you guys for having me. Like, Brad said, please feel free to reach out to me. My email and Instagram are there. I'm happy to just, talk and strategize some thoughts and ideas that anybody may have. So happy to help. Thank you for having me.
Great. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.